Hey guys, welcome to Lutapod. So, Lutapod is a space for young women and girls to discuss and share their experiences, views, and thoughts of the interaction with sport.
Every episode we have a new guest, and today we have our special guest, Maëlle.
So, Maëlle, if you can introduce yourself to everyone.
Sure. So my name is Maëlle. I do Muay Thai and MMA here, and Judo, and I'm 23 now, and I've been doing sports for now 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Damn, time flies.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you find sport? And you said you did quite a few. So if you want to say which sport you found first, then yeah.
So for background, I used to absolutely hate sports. I was like your proper like nerd at school. I would even skip PE class. So I would get A stars in everything except sports I wouldn't go. And when I was in high school, it's a bit different in France, the grades, but at some point, my best friend started having an eating disorder. And I was so stressed. I would feel really anxious, have panic attacks. It was a really difficult time for me. And so one night, my grandma was just like, yeah, you know what? Go for a run. You're being annoying. Just go run. And I just went for a run. And it was like, it was the first time in 2 years. I had tried everything. Like, I was just so stressed all the time. I couldn't focus in class anymore. I was feeling so guilty. So, like, just bad. And I just went for a run. And for the first time, I was clear. I was peaceful, I was in the moment, and I just felt, good. So then every day, I would try to run a bit longer and a bit faster to the point that, eventually I could run a bit more than like at least 1 kilometer and build my fitness up. So that was running. And then it helped me quite a bit because when I finished high school, I remember applying for universities, which was also quite a stressful time. And at the same time, I was training for a half marathon, my first half marathon. And it was like kind of like helping, recenter myself, get some confidence and like think about my goals, where I was going, what I was going to do. And so even though I hated all the sports, once I had a good baseline of, okay, I have cardio, I can do it. I started swimming, then I started climbing, then I went to university and I saw all these new sports. And my friends were like, yeah, well, try that, try that. I tried everything. I was doing gymnastics, Muay Thai, parkour, cross-country, triathlon for a couple of years. And I think the more stress I had to handle, the more sports I was getting to kind of like manage that stress. So yeah, it really helped me.
That's amazing. So I think you're our first guest that you mentioned that you didn't like sports at all,
Yeah.
at all.
No.
So now being so athletic, how do you feel about it? Like, how do you feel about that transition?
It's quite strange, right? Because when you get the transition is quite hard itself. Even things like us girls, body image and these kind of things. It was a difficult time, especially since I was like between like 17 and 21. I changed a lot. So what's strange is like my body weight didn't change, but physically I look more fit. And it's kind of weird because at this age we still kind of go through a second puberty as girls. So it was quite difficult for me because I was seeing guys in training, they were kept getting better and better and better. But for me, it was more like ups and downs because, we have like hormones and a lot of other things. So it was quite difficult, to be honest. And things like I felt less feminine as well because, you lose kind of like curves, you get more muscular. I remember seeing Star, my coach, for the first time when I was not into fitness at all. I started doing weightlifting as well. So before anything, and be like, oh my God, she kind of looks like a man. In my eyes at the time, she looked so muscular.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, looking at myself and looking at it, like, okay, well, now that's like normal to me.
Yeah.
So I think your perception of sports, the norm, and like how much sports you do and your body image changes a lot, and you just don't realize it. It's quite strange, but it's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So with like the whole feeling strange and like going into sports as a woman, what would you say was one of the biggest obstacles you faced, specifically with combat sports, because it is quite different to like doing athletics or any type of like team sport?
One thing is as simple as just body size. So when you were smaller, I didn't realize it at the time, but you can't train the same way as guys train.
Yeah.
So we need more rest days, like just because we do. We can't get away with like not eating before as easily, or not chilling ourselves, or not sleeping properly as easily. At the beginning, I was like a uni student, so I would go out drinking, I would skip meals, I would like not eat properly, and I would just feel really, really bad. And it's only like a few years later that it started really hitting me, that I got stress fractures, injuries, and concussions because I wasn't doing these things properly. But I would see guys and they were fine.
Yeah.
And like, it's just because we have more hormones, so we're more sensitive to those things. And it was, I think that's quite hard for me not to compare myself to guys and be like, okay, I need to do things my way. And I might not progress as fast. I might not like fight against like a beginner or a guy who's been here for like a year versus me who's been here for a long time. I might not win or like dominate, but that's okay because, you know, I'm just much smaller. When you think about it, someone my size in a room full of guys, I always think about it now, it's the same as if one normal size guy in a room full of 100-kilogram men, that would be quite scary for them. So just coming here is like good enough for me.
Did you have anyone help you come to terms with the fact that being a woman in combat sports would be different to like a man, or did you have to learn that yourself?
I kind of learned it myself. So Star, my coach, would tell me, you know, stop doing extra runs, stop training that much. But in my mind, it's like more is better. You know, I have a very like, especially us, we always want to be like the best.
Yeah, no.
We always try to like be good,
like,
you know.
Because there's not that many females in the sports, and we learn through imitation. Yeah, we learn through looking and seeing how other people are doing. So obviously, the only people that we can compare ourselves to are the people in the gym who are doing the sport. And what's that? Who are they? They're men. So we're always comparing. Oh, they're training this, they're training that. We can do the same, right? And I found it. I get you, and it's amazing to have like a female coach because they can actually like teach you, and they know
what's going on.
Exactly. And when you don't have a female coach, male coaches will be like, I want you to lose about 6 kg by this time, or I want you to by that. I want you to go at least for like 2 long distance running, 2 long runs and then 2 short runs. But it's like, where am I gonna add everything? They don't understand exactly what you said.
Exactly. So I was at uni, and my best friend, my best friend at the time, I was underage, I couldn't go out, and my best friend was also underage, and he got me into fitness, into weightlifting, and into Muay Thai, and he would just train all the time, and I'm like, I'm training the same as him. Why am I not feeling the same way, seeing progress? Why am I feeling so tired, so shitty all the time? It's because, you know, our bodies are different, and that's how it is.
There's one thing I did want to ask you about. You mentioned a bit earlier about body image.
Yeah.
You know, if you're okay with sharing, can you go into just a little bit more detail about how body image can be such a massive issue for young girls, and then now implemented sports into it, and how different sports can change your body? Like, what advice could you also give girls who are facing similar issues, because that is a very massive
There's a lot
topic.
of science in this. I will remember, so even though I didn't have like proper teaching, I remember reading a lot because, you know, the whole like nerd thing. And so there's like this duality for women between, you know, wanting to be feminine, so having curves, and also wanting to perform the best in our sports. And I remember first getting into sports, just reading, trying to like be like a robot, like the best I could be at my sports. Okay, so I need to like eat these kind of things, this amount of calories, run that much. Then your body changes, and so it's like I don't like it that much because I thought I looked better before, but like I'm getting better, I'm lifting heavier, I'm running faster, so it's better. And then so that's one thing. And then there's this whole thing about red-esque and female triad. We don't talk about it that much, but it's really common in martial arts. It's when you kind of like underfuel yourself, or when you become too lean. You don't necessarily have issues, but you just have it's REDS is relative energy deficiency syndrome. So you don't have enough energy, right? But you don't realize it. So your training is just shit, basically. Yeah. And guys have shit training days, but we just have like all shit training days and have to push ourselves all the time. And that's one thing that can happen when you have those body image issues. So I remember struggling with it, and then like when I finally found the balance, and I was like, oh my god, I was going to like feel that way every of these training sessions. Oh wow, okay, I see now.
Yeah, and you feel like you're not alone in it, because like there's been studies done on this.
Yeah, and so many like girls struggle with that, so it's a lot of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're gonna like shift to training with men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you train here at Fight for Peace. and you do combat sports. Again, there's a lack of females in combat sports. Have you faced any barriers as a female in combat sports when training with the opposite gender?
I'd fight for peace, not that much. But before that, I studied Muay Thai at my university, and I remember every Monday we'd have sparring session, and the coach often wouldn't show up, and so I would take the sessions, and there was no girl, because it was like tech university. Usually I was the only girl in the room, and I would have to take the class. And I remember this was very, very difficult because being respected and like taken seriously in a room full of men was so difficult. And I even got, so my first concussion, that's how I got it. We had the sparring session, like, okay guys, go light, there's no coach, just like easy sparring, light sparring. And because they were sparring against me, who they thought was, in a coach position, even though I would be like, okay, go easy, like I'm still much like smaller than you, they would still go hard, and they wouldn't trust me, and they wouldn't like listen to me because I was a girl. And that's the only time I really felt the difference. Usually the attitude of the guys is quite good if they've been in the sports for a long time. But what I find is when they first join the sports, a lot of people, especially in MMA, all these sports, they come watching from like YouTube videos or like, UFC, and they have an idea, I'm serious, it's really annoying, of what the sport is. They have an idea of what it should be. And it's more like a performance thing of like, oh yeah, I'm so cool, I can
They want
do
to
that.
look good rather than actually be good.
Did you ever have like men going too light on you?
Yeah, but then I tell them.
And then they go harder.
Yeah.
So if you like watched our previous podcast, you realize that obviously some girls had issues with men going really light on them, and they're not feeling like, they don't feel like they're improving. And then you have Maëlle here who feels like the men are just going really hard, and the common denominator between them two to solve this issue is communication. And
But that's the thing though, I was talking with other girls, it's kind of hard to know where you're at in your training because they never go full power on you, right? Sometimes they go really hard and you're like, oh wow, so this guy this whole time I thought we were kind of like even, but when he actually tries to like hurt me hard, it can really, really hurt me really bad. And you're like, okay, so I'm a beginner. So it's kind of hard to know, okay, should I fight? I'm at this level, but it's hard to know.
It's hard to know.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know because they're taller as well. Like, okay, so whatever I do, like some guys I've been training with them for ages, but because they're so much taller, like Tommy, we started at the same time. He's so much taller. I don't think I'll ever be able to like, get him sparring. So it's hard to know where you sit at. It's more like getting a judge of, okay, I'm at like this level, I should do like end class Muay Thai fight, or like I should go amateur this way. It's difficult when there's no one your size.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. And what I was saying about like the communication is like when you are sparring or when you are training with somebody, it's so important to have an initial conversation of where you want. Be like, okay, cool. Let's try do 20%. See how 20% goes. Okay, go a bit harder.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's enough because you go a bit lower. Do you get it? And a lot of people, we don't have those conversations.
And it's always better to go lighter, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it is always better.
It is because you're not sparring them. You're training.
You're training.
They're two different things. Like if you were in the ring, it would be different. Like you're in the actual ring, you're meant to be sparring. But even when you are sparring, all the coaches always say it's not a fight. Like you're not meant to beat each other up. You're meant to improve your technique, your footwork, the way you're throwing them punches, all the kicks, and you need to see where you need to improve. Whereas for some people, I feel like when it comes to the boys, there is a spectrum. It's either they come in and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go soft. And then some that just think they're in a movie and like, they're just like, here to beat you up black and blue. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, and you're just like, ow, your technique was off, so you hurt me as
but
well.
That's the thing, right? Before I used to be like, okay, I'll take it. You know what? My technique will get better.
Yeah.
So for years I was like that. And my coach would be like, oh my God, you can take really strong hits.
Yeah.
And I remember like just being really, really hurt, but I kept on going because I felt like I had a point to prove until I got concussed like in August. And since then, and I was like, okay, so I can actually get hurt quite bad. Because to me, like getting bruised is fine, getting like bones or anything is fine. But getting your head hurt, I was like, okay, so I can actually get injured. And I was like, okay, there's no point to prove. Like just because we're girls, we don't have to act off or act as such way. It's okay.
Yeah. You don't need to prove yourself to people you have nothing to prove. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like a lot of the times I feel like as women in sports we have this random urge in our bodies, specifically when we're in a male-dominated environment, to be like, I'm not here because I'm bad. I'm here because I'm actually good. Like, you try to prove yourself all the time. And with that comes consequences of you hurting yourself.
Yep.
And you don't realize it's like, you didn't hurt yourself because you were bad. You hurt yourself because you couldn't identify that the person you're against or opposing is actually not good with their footwork or not good with their technique. And you thought because they were a man, they were automatically better than you. Like, it's stuff like that slips your mind. And you're constantly like, no, I have to prove myself. Otherwise, if I don't prove myself, they're going to think I'm weak. They're going to think I'm bad. And it's so annoying.
But this is the thing, and this is why it's so sad. Well, not sad, but why it's hard in being...
No.
How did you have to prove a point?
Yeah, so I felt like I had to show that I was tough enough to take hits and to be hit and carry on like sparring and training regardless of how I felt, and train just as hard, if not harder than the guys or more than the guys, because I was a girl, to show them, I belong here as much as you guys do.
I think you were one of the first females that we had that said you had a female coach star. Now, do you mind like sharing about how important it was to you that you had coach star with you, and having a female supporting you throughout your process in Muay Thai?
For a lot of things, I was happy to have star. So one thing was, like I said, I picked up sports because I was anxious and stressed. So it's more like the more I need sports is because the more I'm anxious. And I think a lot of women are like that. So she would understand how I would react sometimes, or if I was like, okay, today I don't feel like sparring, or today I really need to punch someone, or if I would get really emotional sometimes for no reason, she would understand. Whereas when I used to have, male coaches, which happened before, they kind of like don't care or still force you to do it regardless. So I would say she listens more. She still pushes you a lot, and you don't feel any different than the guys because she still pushes you really, really hard. And there's also the practical side of things like clinching. When I started martial arts, I didn't want to have like any physical contact with anyone because it's just really awkward for me. So clinch, I didn't really like clinching with guys. It felt really weird. So I would just clinch with her. And I'm quite happy because in the years, it got me to be comfortable with like other bodies and things like that, and just be okay. That's just like training. It's fine. I could have her, so I was happy to have another woman and a coach.
Yeah, no, because obviously Star was my first ever coach when I was like 14, and obviously I did women only session, and she was just amazing. She was lovely, but obviously I'd never had her as like a coach for a sport that I competed in. We always had like male coaches, and that was like a whole different like.
My first competition in Muay Thai interclub, we had a male coach. He didn't show up. We went to Southampton.
Oh,
there was no coach. We coached each other. So the guys got beaten out completely. So there were guys like with blood everywhere. They were not prepared. We were not even that prepared. We'd been training for 6 months. And we asked our coach, oh, we're doing that interclub. Can you come and, corner us? He was like, sure. But he didn't come. And only after when I had my first interclub with Star, who, was in the corner, giving us advice, helping us to warm up, telling us, okay, don't eat just before you fight, just basic things like that. I was like, okay, that's how it's meant to be. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I personally, that one coach is a bit weird because obviously my male coach, like Daniel, he never did that at all. He'd be there for his fighters, and he was there. But obviously, I trained with both Coach Star and Coach Daniel. And the training for both were very, very, very different. Like, Daniel didn't give a quack about anything. He didn't care about anything. And for me, I took it as like me getting better mentally. And I'll tell you from this day on, like, that training that he gave was a different type of mental discipline, And then you have Star, who's like a lot more understanding, Like, I'm able to talk to her about certain things. I can talk to her about periods. I can talk to her about, I'm having this issue in my body, and she'll be there supporting and understanding. And that's why I feel like it's so important to have like a female coach or even like a representative. It was lovely talking about Star. I mean, she's the head coach, head Muay Thai coach here at Fight for Peace, and hopefully we'll have her on in the future. We're nearly at the end of our podcast, and what we do is we ask our guests to share some encouraging words to our audience. So, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, just show up. Go to training. That's the hardest bit. Seriously, sometimes you don't feel like it. A lot of the times I have a really bad day and I'm really tired, and I just show up, and that's what eventually encourages me, because I know if I feel better after, and I feel calmer after, and I feel happier after. So that just sometimes showing up is enough. You don't have to push yourself, do the best, do the strongest. Just coming regularly is all that you need, basically.
It was lovely having you here. Hopefully you can come back for a part 2, but we just want to say thank you.